Hello and welcome to another Monday episode of Addiction Recovery and Hope and resources, and we're sharing stories and helping people to understand that you're not alone if you're out there and you are looking and searching for help. I'm Heston Cherry, and this is week 6 of our show. And we have got a wonderful guest today. Her name is Emily Livingston Hughes, and she's amazing. Let me start by telling you what Step 6 is, and then I'll get a little bit into Emily. Step 6 in the LDS recovery program is titled Change of Heart, and this is where we start to find out what our character weaknesses are and begin to recognize them, and then in Step 7 we will try to get rid of them. The key principle is become entirely ready to have God remove all your character weaknesses. And in Step 6 in the AANA program is become ready to remove your flaws. And basically this is the 12 steps. Once you get into them, it goes by one step is a planning step. The next step is an action step. Then a planning step. Then until you get to your maintenance steps at the end in 10, 11, and 12. But anyway, we'll get into the Step 6, but we want to hear from Emily. She's got a wonderful story. She'll tell about it, but I've been a part of her recovery since from the very start. Some missionaries asked me to come over and talk to a girl that was struggling with addiction problems, and they knew that I was clean and doing amazing things, and they thought that I could help her, and sure enough, we sit here today, and she has more success in her little finger than I do in anything I do. So Emily's going to tell a little bit about herself and her story, and maybe she'll tell you how amazing she was at playing the flute, I believe it is. Is it the flute?
Yeah,
yeah,
flute.
She had scholarships and all kinds of stuff. She was amazing. Well, maybe I'm just making that part up, but she'll tell about it. But Emily, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so surreal sitting here with you and remembering back to the day that I first sat across from you when you came over with the missionaries. And I remember talking a lot.
And you still do.
Yeah. So I guess you want me to share a little bit of my story or a lot of
be
bit
as
of
open as you want, as you're comfortable with.
Sure. I like open and vulnerability, so that's good.
That's where I'm at.
So so I was raised in a really good LDS home, and but always had. I guess I would be the one that was considered bending the rules and always just kind of struggled. And it led to addiction. I was in and out of active addiction. I would say, when I say active addiction, I mean relying on substances and different kinds of things to relieve the disease of addiction that was going on in my brain. And so I was in and out of active addiction for over 20 years. And even at one point, I was in what I thought was recovery, but was actually just time under my belt, and I got married in the temple and was living a good life, but was still in that addiction, just wasn't using the substances. So had some life trauma that went on, including my husband passing away. And at that time, instead of turning to Heavenly Father for help and turning to good resources, I turned to substances. I turned to relying on things that were going to numb that pain, and got lost in this world of addiction. And I was the mom that left her kids. I actually told my parents 1 week after I started. And is it okay if I say my drug of choice? I mean, is that...
yeah, go ahead. DOC is what we call it in the programs.
Yeah. So I was, and I guess it's probably it surprised me at the time, but going from not even watching like rated R movies, being a really good girl to, and somebody introduced me to meth, and I just remember feeling that pain go away, but it never goes away. Right. So So I was lost for about 10 years, and like I said, I left my son, and I became a stranger to myself. And the longer that it went on, I remember in the beginning, I always felt like I'm not like these people. I'm not like these people. I'm different. I've grown up this certain way. I've had all these accomplishments. And I used to judge these people, meaning the people that I was out using with now. And and I thought I was better. And then eventually, as time went on, more and more time, I remember that person that I knew myself to be just got chipped away a little at a time, and I began to wonder, am I going to make it back? Maybe I'm not those things that I thought I was. Maybe when I left to come to Earth, maybe God knew I wasn't going to come back. I remember wondering that, really wondering, which was really surprising to me. And yeah, that was the hopelessness. That was where real hopelessness set in for me, because before that, I always felt like, oh, I'm going to make it out. I'm going to be okay. And there did come a time where I didn't know I was going to be okay. I really, really didn't know if I was ever going to make it out. And that was really, really scary.
Yeah.
So
been there.
Yeah. So then you came. The missionaries came, and then they brought you. And I remember you came and picked me up. And I think we had a car full of people that you were taking to a meeting.
I used to take everyone.
So awesome. And I remember I had bruises on my arms from using, and I remember seeing those as I sat there, and then I remember looking down at those, and it was the first time in that meeting that I felt hope. I don't remember what step it was, but I remember this. It was like if you open a door and you're in this dark room, and I remember like this light just. The little bit of light just coming in, and it was like, oh, it was like, I'm going to be okay.
I got a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. And it didn't happen right away. I mean, I think it was a year or a year and a half of me boo-hooing and sobbing and not surrendering, and you spending a lot of time, giving it to me the way it was.
I remember. That was going to be my question to you. Did you quit your drugs, was your first time and you had no relapses?
No, I had many relapses, and again, every time I had a relapse, it was, am I going to make it? It was so scary. It was so scary relapsing. But no, I fell down many more times, but I feel like I failed forward, because now I had a place that was there to pick me up and help me to turn to Heavenly Father, to know how to get back up and to keep going forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a great story, and I've been there from the start of it. And actually, Emily ended up getting rebaptized and has been back through the temple and sealed, and to another wonderful man, and is a wonderful mother to her children, three boys, and as Joe has how many kids?
2 boys.
2 boys. So there's 5 boys. They have no girls.
Yeah, we don't know how to make girls.
But so there's hope for people that think, when Emily started sharing, she says, I felt like I was the one that always was breaking the rules, and as addicts, we all feel like we're the black sheep, that we're the one out of our whole family that people, it always seems to be that it ends up that way. Like people just don't get that. So we feel like black sheep, like we're the outcast, which leads us, mentally to numb out and go into bad places.
Right.
But so yeah, and Emily, you were a very talented flute player, right?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, that's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. Yeah, I'm great.
Well, we have talents.
And I had, so in high school, I had a scholarship, a full ride scholarship that was offered to me from a university that was like a Juilliard for music. And that was actually when I started dabbling. I mean, I think it started with cigarettes or swearing and led to something else, which led to something else. And I ended up not going. But yeah, that was, I do still play now. It's been really fun to pick that back up, and it's kind of just like remembering who you are. Yeah.
For sure. That's cool. I remember we came and watched you once, and you were amazing. I think even Tammy cried, and she don't cry.
Aw.
So let's get into step 6. Let's get in the meat and potatoes a little bit and share about how it helped you in your life. I know it says become entirely ready to have God remove all your character weaknesses, or as in the AA and NA, it says become ready to remove your flaws. And so your character weaknesses are your flaws. And what's so scary about it?
Oh, my goodness. It's so scary. So for me, I just remember, and step 6 was really surprising because I think before when I would read about step 6, I would think, well, what's this here for? Because when you're doing the steps before that, you feel so amazing. You're like, everything's great.
Why do I need any more steps?
Yeah.
I think the book says that.
What do you mean get rid of my weaknesses? Like, they're gone. I did step 4 and 5. But what I remember is I did my step 4 and 5, and of course I'm on this huge pink cloud, and it's like this huge wound that you've cleaned out, and now it's emptying being filled with Christ. But what happens is you've emptied it out, but now you're left with these character weaknesses that you still have. Yeah, you might have, released everything that you've done and with your other steps, but you're left with these weaknesses.
You still have your behaviors.
Yeah, you have your behaviors.
You're getting upset. You're getting reactive, very reactive. I know that.
Yes.
A lot of us have the similar character defects. We think we're better than everyone, and we can tell everyone else what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
But heck, if you're going to look at me and tell me what I'm doing wrong,
yeah,
right?
I got it. Yeah, but now you don't have the substances to hide behind.
Right.
And that was really scary because it was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't like this. I don't like the way this feels because I used to be able to blame it on this, or I used to be able to blame it on these life circumstances that I had. But now it's just me. Now I got to own it.
So recovery is uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable, but I always think addiction is way more uncomfortable.
Right.
So
we just don't realize the other way. We see no way out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why we're doing this show, is to try to get the word out, man. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Come to a meeting, meet people.
So worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it.
So
I remember with step 6, something that was huge for me is these character weaknesses that I had. What I realized was I was getting some kind of reward with these negative behaviors that I had, whether it was getting my way or getting away with things that
manipulating.
Yeah, or selfishness, or that was the thing. There was a trade-off. I had to give those up. I had to be willing to give up those behaviors.
Yeah, right now we're just preparing to give them up.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I had to learn to humble myself. And it was interesting to me how hard it was, because I thought at that time I was so humble. But so it was almost like just again and again humbling myself. But so worth it. Yeah.
I love that you brought up the humble yourself. It says that in the steps so many times. Pride can be devastating to addiction recovery, and you've got to be willing to be taught by everyone you meet. And if you're looking for value from what everyone says, and I got to a point where my ego, I had to tell myself, you're not that cool. You're not as cool as you think you are, and you're no better than this guy or that guy, and it doesn't matter what they're doing, unless you're looking at yourself. You've got issues.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting now. They still come up. It's like it just rears its ugly head. It's like you have to go back and be humble again, and it's funny how it I don't know, like you think I've got it, and even when you have to go back, it's still, I don't know, I still fight it sometimes, that being humble and okay, getting stuck back in that cycle of this is serving me in even if it's a negative consequence or a negative reward, just being willing to be humble and invite the Lord in to help you, help you remove that.
My favorite 3 words is practice and patience. Practice and patience. And I tell everyone that. I'm like, practice and patience, because, it took you 20 years through active addiction, 25 with me, and most other addicts. It took years we created these behaviors. It's going to take more than a month or 6 months or a year or maybe 5 years to figure this out, and we're still going to have them pop up, and we just
Yeah.
need to be willing to work the steps and continue working them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so practice and patience is, we got to be patient with ourselves and not so hard on ourselves. I think as
Right.
addicts, we can be very hard on ourselves,
Right.
and we're not perfect. We got to be okay with that, and it's the biggest key is like, it's okay to take a step back.
Yeah.
Problem as addicts is we want to take 10 steps back. We want to fall as far as we can, as hard as we can. It's like we do it to ourselves.
Oh.
We stick that stick in between the spokes as we're riding
Yeah, like,
the
I'm going to
bike.
show you.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, and so I like that you brought up that. So don't beat yourself up if you cannot conquer all your defects immediately or even a longer period of time, and that's something that's said in the AA. And then it says, you're a work in progress. Be happy about your success so far and celebrate each little victory. And I think that's important too, is to realize when we would have acted a certain way and we finally recognize it before we make what we would have wanted to do or say in those situations, and we actually back off of. And that's where you start working on your character, releasing them.
Yeah. And it's so cool. Like, I just love how when, say, previously I would have reacted
Yeah.
in a situation. And when I hold back or when I do what I know what the Lord would want me to do, what I've replaced it with, which would be to maybe sit back and be quiet or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me, and it's still amazing after all these years how much better everything feels, how much better everything flows. There's no chaos going on. I'm not creating the chaos and then, and then riding on that chaos that I created. And anyways, it's amazing how much more peaceful life is, and life can be peaceful, and yeah, it's good.
It is. Let me ask you this. Your parents, and I know my parents were huge in my recovery, but where are they at now in life from when you were using, and where are they at now? Like, what has it done for them to see what you're doing?
I think they're just so relieved. So relieved. They cry a lot. My mom still cries a lot and relief and just joy. She cries from joy.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. I've learned a lot about my parents through my recovery, and in me, I've been presented with situations and needing to, I guess, be patient with other people, and it's helped me to realize how patient and loving and unconditional loving they were with me through my addiction, because I find myself like, man, just I want to judge everybody, and I'm like, I want to shake them, and I really struggle, and so it's been eye-opening, just unbelievably amazing how my parents are just unbelievably amazing. And so yeah,
I think as addicts we tend to, what was I going to say, I'm like blanking out, but it was going to be good. Like I had something going, but so your parents are happy for you, and I think I know that when we went out to Purgatory, I know you went out there a few times too and helped. And you give back so much, and I'm so proud of you. But a lot of the girls out there, or even the men, would say, you know what, my mom told me she's happy that I'm in jail.
Yeah.
And at least she can sleep tonight, not worrying about where I am.
Yeah.
You think your parents were a little bit worried about you?
Yeah, it actually surprised me because of that ego that I had and thinking that I was so much better and I wasn't like these people that I was with. It surprised me when I heard my mom say that every time the phone rang, and I've heard other parents say this, but every time the phone rang, she thought that it was going to be for me and that I would be gone. And that really surprised me because I didn't think I was that girl. And it was hard. It was hard to know that I had put them through that, Yeah. It was very hard.
For sure. You, let me ask you, so you brought up about helping other people, and sometimes you get frustrated and want to be short-tempered. and I have been in that same situation where, I'm clean over 5 years, and sometimes I forget how hard it is to be in their shoes. And you know what? If yelling worked and screaming and tell them how bad they are, if it worked, and if that was the cure, then that, so be it. But that's not the cure. We need to love and be patient. And it's hard for when they're ready. We got to leave the door open.
Yes. Yeah. It's way hard. And
especially when you love them. It's your family and your friends and people that you're like, man, if I could do this for you. That's what I always think. If I could just do it for you, I know how to do it.
It's and then I think you got to see, you know me, you saw where I was, and you, not only did you see my physical life change, but you saw my countenance change. You saw the light of Christ fill me, and I'm like, why don't you just ask me for like a step-by-step directions? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And
but they're just like we were. You don't understand me. You don't get me. I'm different.
I'm alone.
Yeah. I'm different than everybody else. What is it that you love about the meetings?
I love everything. I love first of all the hope that's there, and I love being able to go to a place where I was able to find out I'm okay. It was the disease. It's the disease in my brain. I am not a bad person. I wasn't born some black seed. That's what I used to think, and I loved being able to uncover and discover that this is a disease in my brain, and it's okay, and there's hope, and I love hearing people share. I love the hope that's there and seeing people's lives change. I love seeing the light come back into people and their lives change. It's a really beautiful thing.
It is. It brings, like you said, peace to our lives. There's nothing like helping someone succeed. And I've helped a lot of people as being a sponsor and stuff, and a very small percentage make it and actually succeed. But it's those ones that make it worth it. It's those ones that are worth the hundreds that you feel like you fail, but you come to realize that you didn't fail. You're trying to help. Your heart is there. They just didn't get it.
Yeah, and maybe they still will.
Yeah. Never too late.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I wasn't ready when you found me, and thank goodness that you didn't give up. You know, that you were there when I was ready to really relinquish and surrender, because you were the one that I looked to, and there's hope, because I saw my addicted self in your story, and I was able to find hope that I could make it too. If Heston could do it, I can do it too, you know? So it's awesome now to be that person too, to be able to help people and to just to show them that it's okay, and they can be okay, and there is a way, and for me it was just all turning it over and letting the Lord in. So and the steps, obviously with the steps, that is what the steps are for me. Absolutely.
It is spirituality in any form. But to us it's God and Jesus Christ, and we're open with that, and we're open to everyone else as long as they stay sober. I don't care. I don't care what it takes for them to stay sober, but they got to find that spirituality, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you let that other stuff go, it's going to be filled with something else. It's got to be filled with something else. It's an open space, and so
otherwise you're carrying. You can't give it away. You can't give all the shame, guilt, all the pressure, all the bad feelings, all the yuck away. You can't. Who are you going to give it to? You can't just. You've got to be able to give that away.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great journey. It's yeah.
What is your favorite thing about being a mom now?
Being present, just being there. Before in my addiction, when I was parenting, it was like I was never present. My mind was always somewhere else, and it felt, it's terrible to say, it just felt like a burden. I was actually mad at my kids for being there because I wanted to die, And now I love, first of all, I love being able to, and I say this in meetings sometimes, I love that I was able to show my kids that when you have a struggle, that you do not have to lay down and die, that you can stand up and not just live, but that you can thrive.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. I mean, it's been awesome to show them, and I just love being present. I love everything about being a mother. It's right now, it's like looking back and saying, oh my, the further you get away from your addiction, you're like, what was I thinking? How, you know, because life is just so amazing.
No chance am I going back there.
Yeah, definitely.
I like how you said that, you know, you got to look for the silver linings. You
Yeah.
got to look for, you know what, I have shown, you know, my son and my daughter and my children that we can overcome hard things
Yeah.
in life. And I think that is a positive for our children. They can say, you know, I got to say that. My dad's like 30 years clean now.
Wow.
And so I think it was a benefit for me to know that he did it. He's my dad, and he's my genetics. I think I can do it, even though genetics isn't. Some people that isn't the case, but that's how it was for me, and it helped me to sure have a father and parents that, you know, when I met you, you were pretty much living in and out of your parents' home, and that's very common for addicts. And what would your parents, you know, did they lock the door and say you need to be in by a certain time?
Well, I mean, I think they probably tried. Well, at the end, they didn't. I don't know how they did it, honestly. When I think back, I would have just ripped my guts out if I was them.
Yeah.
But I think that they wanted me. It was like they wanted me to be around my kids as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Did they make boundaries? Are their parents supposed to make boundaries?
Oh gosh,
I think they have to.
Yeah, definitely. My parents, I don't, you know.
They may have not done it the right way, but and knowing what is right, you're loving your children.
Yeah, and what may be right for one person may not be right for the next family. And but yeah, they made boundaries, but I was not a respecter of boundaries and with anyone or anything.
You were a black sheep.
Yeah, I just ran over everybody and did what I wanted. So for my addiction.
Right.
Yeah.
So character defects, Emily. I've seen you come so far and overcome so many character defects. I know you used to call me sometimes 5 and 6 times a day, and I'd give you the advice. And was I easy on you?
No. No.
Well, they say that you shouldn't be a sponsor for girls, and I was just single raising my son. So, but I had success helping girls.
Yeah,
I really did.
You know what? It was really cool because everybody in my life, and I mean everybody that I felt close to, kind of just played my game. They played my game with me. They enabled me, you know. Yeah. And you didn't. You gave it to me how it was. You didn't put up with my crap. And I remember sometimes being like, "What?
Like, did you just say that?"
Yeah, but
how dare you?
Yeah, but it was amazing. It was like, it was what I needed, and I needed to be held accountable. I needed it, and yeah.
I think I was positive too. Like I'd send you a text saying, "You got this today, girl. Just today."
Yeah, you were awesome. And
one day at a time.
Yeah, you were so great. You know.
Wow. Keep saying it. Keep talking. Well, Emily, it's been amazing to have you be a part of my life and my family's life, and I'm so proud of you for the woman that you are and you have grown to be, and I can't wait to watch you over the next years and see more progress, and the best thing about that is that you're willing to continue to know you do still have character weaknesses. We do. Yeah. I'm so reactive. Like I get I get people mad at me all the time, like every day. Yeah. Sometimes I'll pray in the morning, and 30 minutes later, after I just said I'd like to be a good example of the Savior, and within 30 minutes, I have failed miserably.
Yeah.
But we can continue to ask forgiveness and to practice in patience. Practice in patience.
Man.
But I hope to have you on again and have you come and share your experience, strength, and hope. Last time I was saying experience, faith, and hope, and then it's not faith, it's strength. But you know, I just get caught up in all that. But once again, thank you. And
thank you.
I thank all the listeners, and we're happy to do this show. And we'd ask you that you give us advice, comment. Emily will take the time and answer your comments and questions if you have any. Or I know you can message her, and she'd be willing to answer any questions that help someone. That's the best thing about people in recovery is they're willing to serve and help, and that's how they stay clean. Yeah. But once again, thank you, Em.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You're perfect. And we will be here next Monday, 3 p.m., so join us, please. Thank you, and have a great day.